big Coffee Jerks fans. So I guess it's White Buffalo now, but
yeah, no, I haven't been. I don't go a whole lot. I'm on the other side of town a lot. I drop the kids off at school and stuff.
yeah. Well, you were doing about the same that we were doing, just kind of using it as workspace more than anything, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't even like coffee. Sometimes you just go to, and then we had three of our gym members own that Chavot salon right next door.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go over there, say hi to them, and it's like, you guys want a coffee, and then go hang out. But I mean, there's people from our gym coming in and out of that place.
Dude, I see they do. I think they do some Bible studies there, I believe, or maybe do some group meetings one way or another. Yeah. Dude, that's super cool. I love seeing that every time that they're there, man, because they're meeting, and it's like, especially. This is going to sound weird at first, but it's almost cooler that you're not there, because it shows that culture that you've built is extended beyond you, of like the gym is kind of meeting on their own a little bit. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we were members for 3.5, 4 years before we were owning the place. So I still consider myself part of the, like, not the owner. I'm just like here to, I manage the expenses, I guess. But right. For the most part, people, that's kind of the goal, just build community without me being there. And I can be part of it. I love it too. But seeing that is like the best part of the whole thing.
That is a tough thing to do, is to have good culture that doesn't rely on you, because it's a lot of work. And even if you are there, but to do it while you're not there, that you have to be very skilled to be able to do that.
I got a lot of good people in place too. Just recently we had I forgot, we were out of town for something. It was like kind of a big weekend for the CrossFit. We were actually at the CrossFit Games, and was talking to a couple of the coaches, and I was like, man, it would be cool to like do something. And they're like, oh, we already have something planned. We got it all scheduled out. And they had like a video where it's like they're going to do baby races. They're going to be doing, like they had all sorts of games played. They set up a pickleball court, and I was like, I didn't have anything to do with it. And I was like, this is great.
Awesome.
And I got videos, and I was like, this is amazing. I couldn't have done it better. They're doing it better than I would have ever done it. So I was like, you guys do you.
Dude, that's so awesome. Cool, man. I remember one time, this was a couple of years ago, a handful of the guys here all called a workout together on Thanksgiving Day in the morning before they, went to eat food and hang out with their family and everything. And they organized it and did this little group workout on their own. And I didn't even know about it. I just saw it when they posted the picture about it. I was like, dude, that's super cool. Like, I feel a little left out, but like, honestly, the fact that you guys took that, like, did you feel close enough to like hang out with each other on Thanksgiving was a cool moment.
You've done a great job. Yeah. You can retire now.
I don't know about that. But.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a culture that you create, or, it's been created, cultivates that stuff. Like you can build upon there, and then, it's great when things like that happen without you there.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So, I've got a question for you, but before we dive into that, we'll do a little introduction, make sure that we don't get too far. Sometimes we get carried away and forget to do that. And people are like, who are they talking to? Oops. Today we have Russell Carby. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I know you are very busy. I've got multiple businesses and 4 kids. I don't know how you do that. I've got 1 business and 1 kid, and I don't sleep. So
my kids are a little older than yours, though, so they sleep through the night for the most part.
Yeah, we're very close to that. So we're putting a lot of work into that right now, actually. But man, I meant to mention multiple businesses. You own the CDR, but that it's in Texas. Is it in Dallas?
It's similar to the Oklahoma City CDR. It's actually called Recharge Electronics.
I'm sorry.
It's in Dallas, yeah. So my brothers and I started the CDRs around here, and then they're running this one, and then I'm in Dallas, yeah. So.
And it's your brother that owns the CDR here, and then you obviously own the one in Texas, but you're also the owner operator of CrossFit LandRush. I say operator, but it sounds like you've got a pretty solid team to operate the gyms. So
yeah, if I need to jump in, I'll jump in. But no, we have a great staff. I think we got like 12, 13 coaches, and they're awesome. So the more I can just let go, the better they do usually.
Yeah. That is a tough thing to do. Was there a learning curve to that at all for you, or are you just a natural?
Well, no. So I've been graduated from college from 20 years now, whatever, but had like right when I graduated college, my brother, I was telling Thomas this, I was like, when we graduated from Texas A&M. Had about a year of, working a regular job or whatever. And then got a call from my brother and my uncle, and they're like, hey, I want you to go out to Colorado Springs. We're going to open up a retail store in 47,000 square feet. And, my wife and I were engaged. She was still at A&M. I was living in Dallas working. And I was just miserable with the job I was doing. I was making a decent paycheck, whatever. I just wasn't having fun.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was on Midway Road, and I called her up. She was like between classes. I was like, hey, Linz, what do you think about moving to Colorado Springs, making like no money, no insurance, and not having any family there? And she goes, let's do it.
Yeah.
So long story short is like, man, I was, like the grinder, like I did everything, plunge the toilets, peel stickers, and got to a point where I was like almost more of a micromanager, because like, man, everything's got to be done right. But then when we got the store in Dallas and I lived here, I couldn't be there. So I was like, man, I got to actually put processes in place for this thing to run without me. So I've gotten much better at that, but still I get my hands in things sometimes I don't need to be getting them into, and it's like, just get me out of there. So yeah, it's been a learning process, isn't it? It's hard to let go for sure.
Yeah. No, how involved are you on a day-to-day basis with the location in Texas?
I'll communicate with them every day, but and I'm looking at sales and whatever, but helping with the orders. But I mean, I would say not more than an hour or two a day, just like we got a great staff. We got guys that have been there for 10, 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
As you know, like turnover's tough. So I tell my guys, like, man, we got 7 good guys. I don't want to lose any of them. So let's figure it out. I've always said, pay the guys more to keep them, because training a new person and dealing with mistakes and eventually firing somebody who doesn't show up. It's like, man, if you can have a good, dependable, well-trained person, man, that's worth a lot.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Worth it to give those pay raises, those promotions, to keep those people on.
Yeah, let me sleep at night. If I'm looking at, like, man, what happened here? Like we're missing this, we're missing this, inventory's off. It just costs so much more to have turnover, to where it's like, man, yeah, pay more. I can go sleep at night. I know the things are being run well.
Yeah.
And I can train them the way that I want them to do it. And then it's just beautiful to watch that people do it better than you do it. So
yes,
yeah,
that is, I think, the one thing that helped me out the most with really helping me let go and not feel like I had this urge to control situations, is finally realizing that there were certain situations that other people on the team were handling better than myself. Like I was watching, a couple of different interactions that were handled better than I could have handled them, or certain tougher situations that, working with personnel that were handled, in a way that was genius to me, because it was better than I would have handled it. And even with like handling like marketing or inventory, getting to watch people like work on projects and produce things that's better than what I could have done is finally coming to that realization of like, these certain things are better than what I could have done. And that's what's ultimately going to help me let go, because it's like, I should not do it, because if somebody else does this particular thing, they will do better than I will do it.
Yeah. And you can focus on other things, but right. I think it was what I read in one of the books that I handed you earlier. It was like, man, if you can train somebody to do something 80% as well as you do it, and then just let them go, and maybe give them some guardrails or whatever, but give them their swim lane. Ultimately, they'll do it better than you will.
Yep.
And it's,
do you know what book that's in? Because I remember hearing that, and that has been something that's stuck with me.
It might have been the Traction book. I'm not sure, but Traction's great. It's got all the, like, put people, find the right people, put them in the right place on the bus, and just make sure they got their swim lane. And
I haven't read that one, but man, that is something that I heard from somewhere, and I think it was in another book. I'm sure it's a general rule that's been used more than once, but that's something that kind of stuck in my head as well, and that helped me realize, hey, that even if someone isn't doing something as well as you are, you should probably pass it along, because your time is more worth it to put into other things. And that helped me get halfway there. And then I think it was like Thomas, like taking an interaction. I'm like, crap, man, he did that better than I would have done it. Like, yeah, I should probably make sure to let him take the customers.
No, crap is not the right word. It's yes, this is awesome. Like, this is great. Like, but you kind of got to, like, I think with the retail store right now, got my manager. So I go visit every other week, and I'll go through the same stuff. It's like, man, I have a checklist. And now it's like, now I'm walking him through the checklist. And I'm like, here is the checklist. I want to come in and just have lunch with you and hang out with the guys. I don't want to, all this needs to be perfect. And yeah, it looks better than I would have done. The last few tricks, I'm like, I don't even know why I show up here anymore. You guys are doing great. I'm the cheerleader.
That was one of the things that we even kind of talked about on the last podcast, and it reminded me when you were talking about, training someone like 80% is like, we were talking about how important it is when you have so many things to be doing, how a lot of those tasks like stop having room to breathe. And when they don't have room to breathe, they don't have room to like improve or get better. You just don't have time to dedicate. You just got to check the box, right? And so that was a big thing for us is like, just getting to where we're at now with like the recent promotions and shifts around was like, hey, now all of these things now have a little bit of room to expand. We can kind of move some things around. We can alter how we do things. And it's like, if we don't have that space, it never happens because you just can't. You can't move it once the routine is there. It's just, if it's too packed tight, like you can't move anything around anymore.
Right. Man, I gotta imagine. First, kudos to being able to run a retail store. I should say to own a retail store that is hours away from you and be able to only have to put an hour or two in a day. That's awesome. That'd be a big goal for me. That's for sure. We're a ways off from that, but we are. Every day we're working towards that. So
one of the things the Traction talks about is a scorecard.
Yeah.
So you have a scorecard that you fill out every week, or somebody here fills it out. And it's like, you need to make your business, build your business to where you could have this scorecard, put on there whatever you want. And most of the things need to be like measurable. Like it's not just like looks good, but have like a scale for everything, and then be able to leave and go off on an island for a month. And all you're getting each week is a scorecard. So a weekly scorecard. And you should be able to know the business is that good. So as I'm thinking about like, man, what do I look at on certain, having done this forever, what do I look on a daily basis for that I need these guys to look out for? And then how can I put that in a list to where like, man, just send it to me.
Take your brain and put it on paper.
Yeah, which is the hardest. It's hard. Yeah. It's not easy to do.
That's I remember reading that in Rich Dad Poor Dad. That is one of the books that I did read about. You're not technically considered a business owner, at least by their standards, until you can leave the business for an entire year and come back and it be operating just as well, if not better, than when you left. And I was like, dude, I was at a moment where I read that when I was probably doing 60 hours a week in store, not to mention all the back end stuff. And I'm like, we got a long way to go.
You're not a business owner. I'm not even close to there.
But like, I think putting that, like, I think that could definitely be intimidating and be a long way off. But for me, it really showed, okay, yeah, I know there's got to be other people that do that, so it is possible. So it just, I don't know, talking about what is that, the fact that is possible was motivating to me. Of like, man, there's a long way we have to go to be able to get there, but at the same time, I feel like that's a cool goal, like a kind of a North Star leading, like, is even if we shoot for the moon or shoot for the stars and only end up at the moon, and I just get back to 40 hours a week and owning the business, that would be a dream. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think so I didn't bring this book, and I don't agree with a lot of the things it said, but the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Oh yeah.
That one, it kind of gets my mind thinking of like, man, what things do we do now can be automated? Like what, if something is worth, you can pay somebody to do a certain thing that is, they're probably gonna be better at it than you are, but like, what are those things? And it kind of gets you thinking like, I'm not trying to work for 4 hours a week and I'm not anywhere near that, but having that mindset of like, man, what are the things that we can automate or we can get better at? So mentally, that was a good book to read, but in practice, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, definitely some great principles in that one. That's when you talked about working 1 to 2 hours every day, I was just like, this guy's read Tim Ferriss.
It's hard. I love working, so I'm the grinder. So the 60 hours a week, like, that's my go-to. That's what I would normally do. But I'm like, this is not sustainable.
Right? Yeah. I think for me, that would be a big goal is to not be required to have to put in X amount of hours, but to be able to get to work on the things that I want to. And I personally feel that those would be the things that would genuinely help us grow. And that actually brings me back to the question I wanted to ask is, with having that free time, do you feel like you've been able to make better decisions and produce better results by having more time to just think throughout the day?
I guess you kind of got more time for a lot of things. So in the gym business, yes, I would say, yeah, I think there's a lot of things I like to automate, and I just like being there. I think for me, as far as the gym goes, once again, we didn't set off to own a gym. We were members of a gym, and we loved the community, and we just didn't want it to die, so we bought a gym. Like the movie, we bought a zoo. Yeah, right. we own a gym. So we just love CrossFit, and we love the people in the community. So for me, that extra time is like, man, I get to go hang out with people. Like the coaches will tell you, like if they're coaching, I already told them, I was like, I'll probably be talking to every single person in the room while you're coaching. Hopefully they'll be warming up at the same time, whatever. But like, that's what I'm there for. So that's giving me extra time just to go through and, you call it culture development or call it just like, hanging with my buddies. But with the retail store, for sure, like you start looking at higher level things, how to get your cost of goods down, how to get your margins up, how to move more product, all the things. But yeah, if I'm, spending time on making sure the sign looks exactly the way it should, or make sure that there's not a hole right here, and merchandising is like, you don't have time for the other stuff for sure.
Right.
Yeah. How much time are you putting into the gym on a regular basis?
Well, so the gym stuff, I don't even call it a job the way that I do it. I just, like every once in a while you got to make tough decisions and whatever. But I told Lindsay from the first time when we bought this, I was like, man, I need to enjoy CrossFit. Like this going to be there was 2 years where we basically bought a job and it was tough. Didn't pay ourselves, just kind of like made it through. And, but it's like, man, if I'm not enjoying CrossFit, like I don't want to do this. Like this is not, so I just love it. I just love going in there, love doing the workouts. I love talking to the people. I love the coaches. We just got a good community, and just good people have kind of come our way, which has been great.
That's kind of first priority. That's probably the nice part about having two businesses is you can kind of prioritize just having a good time in it being enjoyable at the gym. And if you make some money on top of it, awesome. But obviously you have a business that I assume would, pays your bills and pays and is your income. So can kind of separate a little bit or compartmentalize a little bit there.
Yeah, with the gym, like there's a lot of fun things. You guys like working out, like I want to buy that, or I want to buy that. So I got to kind of watch myself. They get on to me. So I have there's a few things I'm like, all right, like I got to like hold off on a few things. But the guys know that we like it clean. Like to have a clean environment, like to have community driven, family friendly environment. So there's a few things like culturally that they'll look after and make sure that we're on board. But we have a great team. We got great members. It's been, it didn't happen overnight, but it's been good.
Well, and having I feel like you being there in the role that you're kind of talking about of just like not even like a role that you set out to do, but it's just something that you enjoy doing. It'd be like just hanging out with your buddies. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that is such a huge part of what breeds that culture and why people want to keep coming back, and why the gym ends up being successful though is because you are just there to hang out and have fun, and it doesn't have to be always work. Whenever you're there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing you said. Like if your guys at the store are treating customers better than you would treat them, like here, we have coaches that I guess have been drawn to us, and then watching them interact with people, it's like, man, they're just awesome. They're just good. They create the culture. They create the vibe, and it probably has something to do with me walking around and talking and
it all comes together. It all helps,
Yeah.
As we do, I tend to try and set up things at Sample Triad that way, where I pass off all of the responsibilities for Sample Triad, so they're on the employees, and every person's got a very specific task on what they're doing, and I leave myself free. So one, if something crazy happens, I'm available to jump and be able to make decisions and go where I'm needed, kind of deal. But if everything runs smoothly, which most years it does, not every year, but I can just kind of stand around and hang out with people, and it's honestly it doesn't take a crazy amount of skill to do that, obviously, but that's where my time is most efficiently utilized at that event, is just hanging out with people. So
well, don't underestimate the value of that though. I'm telling you, people love the brand because of the people you've hired. Like people walk in the store, I don't even know if you guys have prices on your stuff. Like the value of the service you provide and the people that provide it, is a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for. So you being there, talking to everybody, and having good people to run a good show is a lot of value added for sure.
Yeah, I'm the handshaker and baby kisser sometimes.
Do it.
Yeah, I was going to ask earlier actually, with the gym, were there any difficulties? I know you talked about a big thing is making sure that you continue to enjoy CrossFit. Was there any difficulties in that transition from like other members' standpoint of stepping in the role or transitioning from the role of just a member to the owner of the gym?
Yeah, man. We've been through a lot, through the gym and, in retail. So I feel like I have like 60 years of business experience, wrapped up into a few years. But, yeah, it was, we were down to like kind of a smaller membership. So we knew everybody, but, they were small pockets. And of course we're having kids the whole time. So we're not like socially involved with every single person. But I think the transition of ownership was smooth. The previous owner did a great job of like, man, here's all the stuff. Like they were more than helpful for something they had built with their blood, sweat, and tears. So thankful for that. And kind of going into it, like, my wife and I were like, I actually went up to her because I was kind of transitioning from CDR to like, I don't know exactly what we're doing. And a couple of the guys came up to me with the idea of like, hey, I think the previous owner is going to try to sell the gym, and I think she was looking at selling to somewhere in California or something, and they were going to like manage it remotely, and they were like, I just don't think this is the right way to go. And so they were like, hey, would you want to maybe think about taking it over or buying it? And I was like, gosh, I don't know. So I'll talk it over with Lindsay. And so we talked it, and she goes, nope, we're not doing it. I don't want anything to do with this. There's the CrossFit, all the things that go with it, all the drama, the community. I was like, man, we love CrossFit, we love fitness, like. We love community. We know that, where things are hard, fruit will come out. So for us, we prayed about it a lot. We said, hey, if doors open up, they open up. If they close, they close. And like within the next like 5 days, like a door opened up every day. Like, gosh, I guess we're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
So the transition, I had another business partner, and he would run all the classes and I would take all the non-classes, which, ultimately is a lot more than you would think. And so he was doing great. And then at some point we had to split and, back to ground zero. And then, COVID hits. So that, that wasn't the easiest transition. So there's been some ups and downs and some tough decisions. But as far as the transition of being like a member, we were part of the community enough to, it wasn't a big transition. It was a small group. But if they would have come in from California, I think, and taken over the gym, I think it would have killed the culture. But
yeah,
CrossFit's very culture driven. As you know.
And that's a kind of a double-edged sword there. I feel like you talked about being just enjoying CrossFit, so you get excited about new equipment. I know that I personally have that kind of with supplements as well. As I enjoy supplements and these new brands that come out, and I enjoy the marketing aspect of it, and putting on events and doing cool, running cool like promotions and whatnot, and dropping new merch and stuff like that. So I get wrapped into like just building the like the attention to the brand and the overall culture, not just our employees, but with our customers as well, and the community. And sometimes it's and that's ultimately, I think, a big part that's driven us to be where we're at now. But at the same time, that makes it a little bit harder to be black and white about the financial decisions. But I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, that's a dichotomy, because like if I didn't work out or didn't take supplements at all, I could probably have a fantastic looking P&L statement. I would cut all of the expenses that I didn't need, and we would maximize profits. But in the long game, like, if I am looking at this, more remotely or more from an outside standpoint of it's just a business, I think we lose a lot of those things of that do build the culture. When we bring in a new brand and it brings in some hype, and we maybe throw a little bit more of a promotion on that than we should. it's those things that ultimately I think get us long-term growth, where we might sacrifice a little bit of profit now for that.
Well, right, because I think one of the big things is like at the end of the day, try it as the supplement store that you would want to shop at.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? And if you're disconnected from it, where you don't care about supplements or whatever, you don't care about fitness, well, then it's like you don't even know what that would look like.
Right.
You don't know how to push it in that direction. But for this, it's like, yeah, we might overdo it a bit here and a bit there, but like we love the fact that when somebody walks into a triad, we have a whole bunch of things that they've only seen online. You know what I mean? Like we go through the extra effort, the Skype interviews or whatever it takes to like get these certain products in, because at the end of the day, like we're still making a thing that's ultimately how we would want to be shopping for it. And I'm sure it's the same thing for the gym. Is it's like if it's someone way away and it's they don't have that same emotional attachment or understanding, it's like you're probably, and back to kind of what I said earlier, is like you get to a point where you're friends enough with everybody and you're ingrained in the culture and in the day-to-day, and there it's like, if all the barbells are rusty, you know what I mean? You know it, you know what I mean? Or like if
you can save some money by still using those, but you're going to lose some members.
Right. It's like, when when the toilet's clogged or something like that, because it's like you're having the time to still make it the gym that you'd want to be at.
Yeah, right now we have a stinky restroom. We can't figure it out. So it's like, man, I don't need to be messing with this, but it's like part of the thing. But yeah, everything. You're in the middle of it. And speaking of like, you want it to be a place you want to go to. Like I remember going into the retail store. So I purchased this one in Dallas. It was owned by somebody else, and so I went in there and I was like, man, I wouldn't shop here. I wouldn't send my family here. This is embarrassing. So I was like, I just want to do a place that I would shop. So like, is it competitive with online prices? Is it like the selections you want? Are we selling off-brand chargers and accessories? Or are we selling like the real deal? Are we selling good stuff? So, and the same thing with the gym. For me, the coach was giving me a hard time, but the cleanliness thing, like, man, I don't want to walk into a gym with leaves all over the floor. Typical CrossFit gyms are, not as clean as your local whatever, Crunch Fitness or whatever, but I was like, man, I got to make it clean. Like, not for anybody except for myself. Like, people like, I don't even see all the grass on the ground from the lawn that just got done. It's like, I see it and it's bothering me. I actually have to blow it out right now. So yeah, they'll make fun of me a little bit. I think I heard one the other day. It's like, Lindsay, is Russell like this around the house? And she's like, not as much, but yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
How did you? Sorry, we're jumping back and forth. I'm sure we'll jump back and forth between the gym and retail a little bit, because I think we're kind of right in between there. We're in the fitness industry in retail, and you do kind of both sides of the coin. But you talked about how you got into ownership at the gym. And I think you mentioned a little bit how you got into the retail side of things. But how did you end up in ownership with the one in Dallas?
Okay, so that's kind of a long story, but I guess I'll make it short. So, graduated from A&M, went to like a year working in Dallas, and then my uncle had started a company called CD Warehouse. So this is like way back in the day. Ultimately, it morphed into Entertain Mart, which we were talking about earlier with Thomas. Over there in Springfield was the first store, Entertain Mart store. So
I remember it very well.
And so that
go there all the time.
Yeah, it was good. So it was like buying and selling stuff. So at that time, CD Warehouse was CDs, but that was like books and DVDs and video games. But for the first year, it wasn't making a lot of money. So my brother went out there. He made a few changes and it started doing well. And then my uncle, who owned it, but he was living in Dallas, he was like, hey, you guys want to move up to Colorado Springs and open this giant store? I was like, I don't like what I'm doing right now. So sure, let's do it, after calling Lindsay, of course.
Yeah.
So we moved up to Colorado Springs, didn't know anybody. My brother and I walked into 47,000 square feet of nothing.
That's crazy. That's a lot of space.
Yeah. And we weren't getting, no insurance, no benefits, all the things that you don't get when you have your own stuff. So you're just making whatever. And so,
were you in ownership at that location?
No, so I didn't get so you get the right to buy in at your second location.
Okay.
And so that store just went gangbusters. I mean, it was just killing it. So then we moved to Arlington, Texas, and then long story short, we opened about 10 stores.
Okay.
And then my uncle wanted to come in, and he and my brother started kind of butting heads a little bit. So got the whole family dynamic there, and
that's tough.
Yeah, and I was kind of like in a different area. It was a different swim lane, I guess, and so I was kind of involved. But my brother's like, man, I got to go. And I was like, well, let's go. So a few months later, then we ended up having a non-compete in Dallas. So opened up, a couple CDRs here and one in El Paso. But, yeah, as far as going back to that store in Dallas, when I left CDR, I know my uncle wasn't doing great at the retail store there. So called him up and I was like, hey, I've been inside the store. I think I can make a few changes to help, like what about like some sort of consulting fee? And he goes, do whatever you want to do. He's like, he goes, I've successfully closed down 3 stores. Like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to close down another store. So went in there, made a few changes, and you guys have been in business before. You have one where you have like an open box and you're starting from the ground. It's everything you want. Mm-hmm. And you have another one you're taking over. I remember you talking to the Coda guys. It's like, which one's easier? Taking over something that's already running, you already have a culture set in play and all the habits, good and bad, or you're kind of building from the ground up where you have no customer base. Mm-hmm. So went in there and, from Oklahoma City, I went to Dallas every other week, or at the beginning it's probably every week. And it's like, hey, all right, here's a list of changes. Here's a list of changes. I mean, probably had to turn over the whole staff, maybe minus a couple of people, remotely. Yep. So lots of growing pains. So that's how I ended up, doing that. That was more of a and then ultimately I had the option to buy over half the company. So it's like, we'll buy it. We're all in. And
awesome. So you kind of got to, in a way, kind of run it remotely before you even bought a note. Like, you've never run that in town,
right?
Which is interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's because that would be tough to be running something in town and then move away. I feel like I'm maybe a little closer in my position because I think I'm officially starting last week. I don't really have a reason to be in store anymore at all. Because
thank goodness, somebody's got this guy out of here finally. Yeah.
But
how you have a smelly bathroom? So do we, but it's from Kevin. Yeah.
Oh man, Kevin,
my nickname in that. But yeah, it's I probably might have to find some reasons to pop by at some point or another. I'm usually they throw me in videos and whatnot, so
but still do what you want to do. Like, if you like, you mentioned going back on the floor sometimes. Like, sometimes you're still good at that. There's a reason to try it successful. Like,
I at least enjoy it.
Yeah, right? Or if you like the distribution, or if you like the people or the management, like, go in and do things that you want to do, not things that you have to do.
Right.
Give up the tasks that I don't specifically like, or even I'm even not the best at, but keep the ones that I do really enjoy and I feel like I'm good at. So.
Oh man, you talk about that with the gym. I mean, we got Karina. She runs a lot of things at the gym, but it's like, man, I'm not the social media guy. Like, can you do it? And she just takes it and runs. And she posted a video the other day. I was like, man, that is awesome. She goes, I post those videos like every day. This is it's like, you just don't ever check it. Cause I was like, whatever you're doing, like, that blows me away. And I got people in Dallas being like, man, your stuff is great. And I was like, man, I just trust that she does a great job with everything. So
yeah.
Finding people who do things really well at especially the things that you're not good at.
Yeah.
That's
people that care.
Yes. The people that care and they're good and they'll do it better than you for sure.
Yeah. What was there a learning experience with coming from the retail side of things and obviously having a plethora of experience within retail? Was there anything that you expected with running the gym to be able to like understand because you had business experience that was just completely different?
There were things that were completely the opposite and a lot of things that were the same. So when I went in, we went in with like a 45% owner that did most of the operations, and he didn't understand profit and margin and the things. It's like, man, he just loved fitness and loved training. It's like, man, we're going to charge $20 for this personal training session for an hour. And I'm like, hey, like, we need to actually look and see what the value of this is. Or like, so there's a lot of things retail that kind of helped with running the operation of the gym, but also like the gym business, at least the CrossFit business, it's a lot of, community driven. It's a lot of relationships and, managing that. So that's something that's completely different. Like, you can go put a good price on an iPhone, it'll sell tomorrow. You can't do that at the gym. It's like, you got a culture, and, it's more culture driven and community driven than it is, just X's and O's like you would in a retail store. Which
can be more work than just simply changing a price on something.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot different work and probably harder.
Yeah. But potentially more enjoyable as well.
Yeah. I mean, the reason we were doing this, I was talking about Lindsay and I were, like we were talking about before we owned it. It was like, man, the fruits come from like the tight community and like all the things that happen. So if you guys have ever been in a small group of guys, it's like, man, you're tight. Well, if something goes wrong, it's exponential, right? So it's like, if you can either avoid all of that pain and all of that, the heartache, or you can like get in the middle of it. And it's like, man, we're here. Like, like not necessarily somebody's doing something wrong to me, but if somebody's, they have a relative that dies or something happens at the gym, or they, somebody's got cancer, or whatever, like you're there, like you're
right.
we were just in the hospital praying for one of our long-term members just yesterday. We had a group of guys. So, the deeper roots, it's worth it. It's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say too, like when you're talking about that, it's more fun, but I think one of the other things that's really important is it's also like your customer loyalty base becomes so much greater at that point too, because that's one of the things, with my new role is going around and doing a lot more customer service training, and a big part of it is what do our individual interactions look like. And one of the main things that we've been talking about is that like the majority of people that shop with us are not typically in a hurry, so let's not treat them like they are. Let's take the time. Let's try to extend all of our interactions by 5 minutes, right? Just a quick 5-minute conversation with somebody, because it starts to have more in-depth dialogue about what's going on in their life, and that's where you get closer to people with that. If somebody comes in and they're grabbing a drink and you don't ask them, you're just, oh, this person must be in a hurry. And it's like, it's really easy to kind of get into that mindset. And one of the things that I was talking about with that is if we get into that mindset of everybody's in a hurry, and we have some things that, we do well customer service wise, but if we fall short on other ones, well, then the only thing keeping us competitive is price.
Right.
And if all of a sudden, somebody can grab something similar or something else off the internet or from another store, it's like, well, that's when we start to lose people. But when you're talking about, the price of an iPhone versus like the culture of it, that's when it's like, hey, guys, I know the whatever's not been working, we're getting it worked on, but people are like, they're willing to stick through it. They're willing to come in and still be a part of it because of the culture that's there. Whether it was like COVID for us, where it was customers coming in and really trying to support us just to make sure that we weren't closing. If the only thing we'd, lived on was being the cheapest, it's like, well, they wouldn't have cared,
Yeah.
And so you have these like long-term things where it's like, it's more fun, it's harder. But at the end of the day, it's like getting and maintaining that is, I feel like just been personally a big thing for me recently. But it's like making sure that's the biggest thing we're doing, because that's what makes us like, recession proof or, like price proof or whatever. It's just that people just want to shop with us for us.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. You said you bought into ownership before COVID, right?
Yeah.
What year did you?
I think bought the gym and the retail store. I think 2018.
Just enough time to get comfortable before COVID.
A lot of red on those tax returns. A lot of the financials, like, oh man, we're bleeding pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was comfortable to get. So COVID was interesting because, like we were shut down for 5 weeks, I think, in both companies, and the gym was a harder one. I mean, we're sitting there. I mean, you guys probably went through, or know people who went through it. We were doing Zoom calls, like Zoom workouts. Like, dude, if your gym is built on the culture you created, and you're doing a Zoom call or Zoom trivia night, or like, going up and meeting people in the back to try. It's just the gym was tough because if somebody wasn't bought in, then they were gone. So the people that we had gained in the last like 3 or 4 months, which we had pretty good growth before that, they were all gone. But the people that had been members for a longer time, they knew it was about more than just the workout. And they stuck with us. And I mean, we still have a lot of those guys with us, which, I mean, those are the reasons we do this.
Amen.
The culture the retail store was crazy. So we opened up, I think we got closed down. I remember we were at the beach with the family, and like I got a call like, hey, we're closing both companies. I was like, shoot. So the retail store, I think we closed like maybe March 25th or something, opened May 1st, half staff. I was like, man, I don't know what we're going to expect. Gangbusters. People had like all this extra money, I guess,
and probably bored.
You
got plenty of electronics for them.
Man, so COVID was crazy, and it ended up being a good thing. And then fast forward another year, we had this. So we're at like a shopping center to where we're off the busiest road in the city, so Preston Road in Dallas, and you had great visibility, whatever, even though we're a small store. Well, I come up one day, like the next year, and it was like the whole parking lot there's like 100 spaces in front of us between us and Preston Road. the whole parking lot's being torn up, and there's a big gate with a tarp around. You can't see us. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? So 7-Eleven had bought the property. They're building a 2-story 7-Eleven right in front of our store. So we have three parking spots. Parking spots, and you can't see us from the busiest road in Dallas. I'm like, oh my goodness. And so, we were blessed to thrive through that. I mean, it was not only like, I mean, you couldn't even get into the parking lot some of those days.
Yeah.
And people just kept showing up. But kind of go back to what you were saying, Thomas, like, man, the value you guys add is not the prices. I mean, yes, the selection you guys have is something that you guys have handpicked, and it's good, whatever, but it's the people. I mean, you guys send people out to the gym all the time. It's like, man, we'll take Triad all the time. I don't care. Just bring somebody out. I had Ian this last time, and he was just great. And it's just like, man, they're never in a hurry. Always willing to talk to people. Willing to talk to my kids. It's like, I would say keep doing that. The extra 5 minutes, maybe like, hey, are you in a hurry? No. Okay. Well,
you're right. Like people let you know when they're in a hurry.
Right. So, even ask. Yeah.
I think that the value is like, for sure. Like you go into GNC or whatever the competition is, they're not doing that. There's no way. But and the hard part is not doing easy to do it at one store where you're at. It's hard when you have multiple stores, but you guys are doing great. So,
well, I think that's a big thing that's really helped us stand out in the industry because I think a lot of retail is just very much just help, clerk, and on to the next customer, and I think in a lot of models that works, but I think we're kind of in a unique space where we're part of the fitness community, but we're not a gym. So we get opportunities to see people, maybe not every day like at LandRush, but we get to see them once or twice a month. So we get to, and if we really push the build a relationship with the people that are coming in, and someone comes in and we're like, oh man, hey, how's your son doing? Or like, hey, like I heard you just got married last week, right? Like, and we get to ask those questions, or and then we see him at the gym, and we get to talk maybe a little bit more time to kind of talk to them, and just build those relationships that way. That's a big thing where I know you talked about the gym being kind of struggling during COVID, and we struggled during COVID as well. I think almost everybody did. I think there's maybe like some plumbers that did really well for whatever reason, but I think I would assume that you guys struggled a lot less because of the culture that you have, where I know for us it was we were down about 20% of what we anticipated to do, but the standard in the supplement retail industry was everybody was down about 80%.
No way.
So it was, and that spoke volumes, and like that genuinely really made us appreciate the customers that we do have and the support that we got. And we were in a position where we got really lucky as we were kind of grouped in with grocery stores and were allowed to stay open, and which honestly was really cool because we've even got some customers that like genuinely rely on some of our products. Like we've got people that have legitimate medical issues and aren't able to get their protein through normal food sources and have to take protein powder. So it was really cool to be able to still be open and provide, especially for those types of people. But again, man, we saw a lot less. We saw a dip, but we saw a lot less of a dip.
Oh, for sure.
Because of the support that we get from our members, or from our customers. So
I should have brought in some groceries into my retail store. Maybe we would have stayed open.
That's right.
Like, shoot, like we're just trying to pay the rent, because you got to pay the rent. So the landlord's got to get paid. Like, oh man, this hurts, but.
Yeah,
you got to keep your guys paid too. So it's that was a tough deal. But what stayed open, what didn't stay open, it was like, man, I don't know. I thought we were pretty
essential,
like pretty essential. Especially, I mean, the number of people that had, it wasn't like, oh, I missed 5 weeks of working out. It was like mentally, like physical exercise, community, all the support that you get from the gym that we were offering. Is like, man, that's the stuff that people were having a hard time with. Because I was checking on them every day. It's like, man. Texting people like, hey, how are you doing? How we doing?
Yeah.
And it was like, man, it's just tough.
Man, I go nuts.
Yeah, I go nuts.
5 weeks of doing it.
Yeah.
Well, so my story is we were at the beach and we came back and it was like you were shut down that Monday or whatever. We got back Sunday night and it's 9:00 and I'm like, all right, I'm going to the gym. And Lindsay's like, no, you can't go to the gym. I was like, no. If you expect me to sit in this house for longer than this hour, I'll go by myself. But I'm not for sure. I'm getting out of here. And I was like, this is going to be good for both of us. It's not this is not just for me. This is good for you.
My wife's always like, "What was they got jiu-jitsu class tonight? What are you doing? Why you get out of here?" Like,
yes, it's good for you to get out of there. But then it was maybe 4 hours later. She was like, "Hey, I'm going to go to the gym now." I was like, "Yeah, good. You go to the gym."
You mentioned that 7-Eleven opening up in front of the store. Did that happen in COVID, or was that outside of?
I think that was a year later. So we got hit with COVID, and I was like, "Oh man, it's going to be tough." And then maybe it was a year later that it was like you couldn't even see the building. So if you ever drive by Preston Road, you got to look for us, and people are finding us. So it's been good. Yeah, but it's like, I don't know, world's largest 7-Eleven. You see a 7-Eleven here, like that's normal. This one is that, but then one story on top of that. It's like the corporate office or something.
Oh, no.
I'm like trying to even imagine, I don't know if I've ever seen a 2-story gas station.
Yeah, what do you even need that for?
No, I think it's like corporate offices. It's in the middle of Dallas. So it was funny. There was I don't know, it's On-Q or QT, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a 7-Eleven that's been there for 40 years on the other corner. And all of a sudden, like a QT or whatever moved in next door, and there was a giant. It's a regular size QT, which is like twice the size of the regular 7-Eleven. So then they're like, Seven's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go buy the property across the street. They build the biggest one ever. So I mean, and it's worked. I think they're just crushing it. So not great for our visibility, but it's been fine.
You got business. 2 gas stations in front of you, just constantly.
It'll be like 10 stories. Just
battling each other.
That's probably what they'll do. But I think that's a corporate office or something over there.
But, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you're driving by and see the world's largest 7-Eleven, just go back behind there.
Right behind it.
And there won't be a parking spot for you. Got to go around the corner. Yeah,
right.
They make it in there though.
Well, you talked about that, man, and to draw a parallel to COVID, this was something that when we were in the middle of quarantine and everybody's going through everything, and obviously a lot of businesses struggled, a lot of people struggled, and I was watching, I think it was Steve Salmon. He owns Man Sports and a few other companies. I was watching his story, and I was really kind of seeing what other business owners, especially in our industry, were kind of doing, and I was trying to stay in contact with them of like, hey, how are you guys doing? What are you doing? What's working for you? What's not working for you? And I remember seeing him make a post, and it was just him talking and selfie video style, and was mentioning that people were constantly asking him, hey, what do you think you're going to do? Are you stressed? Are you, how are you doing? And he was just like, man, to be honest, he's like, yeah, this is stressful, but like, so is everything else. So business is like, there's always something stressful going to be happening. And like you talk about, the 7-Eleven being built, and it's like, man, in a lot of ways, I'm sure that was more stressful than quarantine. So,
oh man, there's all kinds of things. I mean, we have a store that has a bunch of iPhones, so people are constantly looking to take your stuff. Well, man, and over here in the gym, it's like, man, I could leave the gym doors open all night, and nobody's taking those 70-pound kettlebells or that 150-pound Echo bike. Because like, dude, they're just gonna leave that there. Like, I don't want that. They don't have to like carry it.
Right.
So
those weights are heavy.
Yeah. So there's things that like we just spent a bunch of money this morning on a new security system and another gate. It's like, man, if you just got to do what you want to do in business, it would be so much easier. But there's always something. But I mean, I think that's the challenges that make us stronger, and we're here.
Yeah, a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yes.
Types of moments. I know you and I kind of get in conversations on inventory a lot, especially when we're hanging out working at Coffee Jerks.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah.
But has there been a lot of differences between like gym equipment and inventory at the retail store?
So inventory at the retail store, you just take what you want to sell, and like you say, I want this many months of supply, and you got enough history to be like, okay. So you guys are talking about like learning, like, okay, we know that this is selling X number of times a month. We want 3 months, multiply it, easy. The gym is like you have classes, and you want to have enough equipment for the classes, but you also have space, and you want to add more stuff. And I think we got to the point where we have a lot of stuff, and now I just want to make sure it's nice stuff. So I'm recycling some of the equipment, and but then also like Rogue came out with a new rower the other day. I was like, man, I want one of those. I didn't need one.
Yeah.
So that one's arriving tomorrow. So I'm going to get one of those. That's a fun toy.
But I'm sure the members will be hyped about that too.
Yeah, and if nothing else, I am. So
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's like they don't know if it's dirty, but if it's clean, it makes my day. And if we have a fun toy I get to play with, I'm happy. So yeah, and it's it's a business expense, right? So it's a little toy they get to play with. But yeah, just completely different. One thing you're selling, one thing you're like, man, I just need to have enough to support the classes that we run. You think of the biggest class, all right, let's make sure our Saturdays people have enough stuff. And so we try to keep the equipment new. We try to keep it fresh, make sure that we're turning it over if it gets too old.
That's a more turnover than I realized for a gym. Because I would assume that like gym equipment, and I guess even with turnover, maybe a question, does gym equipment hold its value better than electronics?
Good question. Depends on what it is. So like if you're trying to resell 45-pound bumper plates you bought from Houston that paid whatever for shipping, they don't hold their value very well because a lot of the price you pay is shipping related.
The shipping, just simply because it's so heavy.
Yeah, so if you're buying locally, it holds their value, but iPhones hold their value a lot. Apple products hold their value, it's the resale, but you'll see, like for me, like rowers will last forever. You get a Concept 2 rower, it'll literally last forever. Like you can replace all the parts real easily. So you can resell those. For me, I probably don't have to replace them, but like if they don't match, so the guys are giving me a hard time right now because I'm like, these don't match. We need to make sure they match so they look good. And so I'll sell something and buy something that matches. So that's just more like a little OCD for me. But the gym equipment, especially the rowers, the bikes, a lot of that stuff holds up over time. The smaller stuff, it ends up being like cost prohibitive as far as shipping.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've always heard about that, about like, to get like dumbbells shipped to you. It's like, okay, like you do, 5s through 50s, and that's, I don't even know how much weight that is. It's like, you're looking at like a few 100 pounds there though. It's like, we don't really ship anything that's that heavy. We've got 5-pound tubs of protein. That's about as heavy as we get. So.
Yeah, no, the cost on all that stuff is the shipping is a huge. I mean,
big factor.
What I buy, I bought some like pull-up bars, and like the shipping on it's 20% of the cost of the deal. It's like it adds up over a whole gym worth of stuff for sure.
Yeah,
That's tough.
That makes sense. Sorry. It's when you go to resell it, do you at least make a little bit of money back, even if you paid a lot in shipping? Obviously, maybe not holding its value, but like what you paid in total for it. But are you at least able to get close to the value of just the equipment back if you're doing some?
Yeah, like a rower bike, for sure. You're doing, we just use the bumper plates and bars until they're not of use anymore. But you get a pretty good value back on some of the bigger items for sure.
That's good.
Nice.
Yeah, we dealing with nutritional supplements is everything expires in 2 years, so it holds its value real well for just about 2 years, and then
not so much,
and then pretty much nothing after that.
Yeah. So. You make sure you don't have more than 2 years of inventory on anything. So.
Yeah. Another part of making sure that our turnover is pretty good. So
I tell my guys at the retail stores, like, man, try whatever you want. If there's a new product you want to try, get it. We'll see. But like, if it doesn't sell within a certain period, like mark it down to cost and get rid of it. Like, we don't want to hold on to stuff forever because it does. Electronics do go down. But it's like slowly versus 2 years. It's like, all right, it's worth nothing.
Yeah, it's a big like stair step there for us. Yeah. So it's like perfect, like perfectly good, and then nothing.
Cliff. It's a cliff.
Yeah. So, but we implemented kind of selling things at cost as well whenever we do our clearance sale once a year. So kind of get everything that's getting close to expiring, not moving. Even some stuff that like maybe just recently expired, but is still okay kind of deal. And it's like just. If we could just make some money back on it,
right?
Like we're not obviously.
If we could just replace it with something else,
right? Something else that does move.
The cost of goods back. We're happy.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Have you had to lean at all within the retail store? Have you had to lean at all? Like you mentioned, Apple products holding their value. Have you had to like avoid purchasing other brands or other products, or and lean more towards Apple or other products at all, or?
And so we're a resale store, so we'll buy from the public and we'll resell. And so whatever's popular usually comes in. So I tell the guys, like, man, if something starts coming in, like I think we had like the VR headsets became popular. I was like, man, if they're real popular, we'll see them. People will come and sell them to us. But iPhones, MacBooks, Apple products like AirPods even, but Samsung's usually pretty good. We still sell video game consoles. We don't really do the games as much anymore, but just whatever's popular that's an electronic that's like nice that we'll make sure it works. We have a great testing process and resell it. But people love that stuff. They don't want to pay full price, and for us, I consider ourselves like a liquidation source for people. So it's like, man, I need fast cash, or like, man, I'm going to get the new iPhone. AT&T, whatever's not offering as much as I think it's worth. It's like, man, we'll give you a lot more and give you cash and get you in out of here. And we're trying to get them in out of here in 10 minutes, whereas you guys want to keep them. Like ours is good customer service, getting them cash, getting them out the door.
Well, that's the thing. It's because, you get into these, I remember this cracks me up, actually, now that I think about it. I won't name where it was, but I was...
Sorry, I'm going to run to that.
Yeah, you're good. I was shooting my bow one day at a facility that carries and repairs and does, just like different bows. And I was shooting just for fun. And I was up there and happened to start talking to the guy next to me who was shooting his, and this specific place had like a new Matthews bow that he like really liked, and he's like, man, I think I might try to get it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. I just met the guy that day, and I had gone up to the counter and I was grabbing something I don't remember. And he started talking to them about like his current bow that he had. He had like a blackout bow. It's like a $900 bow. It's a nice bow. And he's talking to them and he's like, hey, like I really want to try to get this Matthews. Like, what will you give me for this bow? And it just reminded me when it came to like the Apple side of things, because they were like, we'll give you $100. Oh, and he was like, okay.
No way.
Yeah, because he was just in this like traded up, traded in kind of thing. Oh. And I looked at him and I said, I'll give you $120 cash right now. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay. And I handed him $120 cash, and he handed me his blackout bow. Oh. I ended up reselling that bow for like $450. No. But it's like, I can totally understand, because it's so funny. You start looking at some of the trade-in value things that you can get from, and not to pick on Apple, because I don't know how good or bad they are, but it's like, it'd be like, oh yeah, you want to upgrade to this? It's like, oh, you've got this that's 2 years old or whatever. Like, we'll give you $43 for it, and you're like, this thing is $600 when I bought it, and it's like, it's funny because I'm sure there's plenty of times where people are, like if they just realize they went over to you guys, it's like, they'll give you a little bit of a fair deal for it. Yeah,
well, for sure. So there's the market for bows is probably not as crazy as or competitive as the market for iPhones. Like at this point in time, I mean, you have OfferUp, you got 5 Mile, you got eBay, you got Amazon. Like there's a million places to sell, so it's kind of a competitive market. So people know the value of their item. Sometimes they'll trade in like for convenience, like, hey, I'm at AT&T, I'm going to get the iPhone 16, I got the 14 here. Like it's just convenient to, we might give them more, and it might be, it might be $50 more, but they can do it right then and there.
Right.
But yeah, that's what we're there for. The goal, I think all businesses, like, man, if you treat customers the way you want to be treated, I think they'll keep coming back. So I mean, I don't want to be, like some people come in, they'll complain about GameStop. They're like, man, they're offering me $20 for this console, they're going to turn around and sell for $150. It's like, like, man, what's the margin we can work with that gets people coming back? And ultimately, we pay them a fair value for them, and they'll keep coming back knowing that they trust our buyback prices and our sale prices. And then the same thing for the gym. It's like, man, if you're investing in your stuff and you're taking care of people, and people see that you're actively working to keep the place clean and stuff like that, I think people appreciate that.
I was telling them the story about how I was shooting my bow, and that guy wanted to upgrade from his blackout to this Matthews bow, and the place that we were at offered him $100 for it. And it's like an $800, $900 bow, and I was like, I'll give you $120 right now. He's like, okay. I was like, hell yeah, brother.
You should probably just hang around there the whole day.
Tell you what, just
undercutting.
Yeah, just undercut, because you could tell. And I had gotten to know the guy who was working the counter, not well or anything, but like enough where he recognized me when I came in, and he looked at me and he's like, oh well, all right. And I'm like, well, come on, dude, you offered him $100. Like you were the one who made the initial offer. That if you would have offered me $100 in that situation, I'd have been like, all right, I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah. He deserved it, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Shoot.
Tell him 140.
Yeah, like, you go.
You keep. I'm here to help, brother.
Like, this guy's gonna come out with like $800. Whatever.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
man, that's a whole element to the retail that you do too, that I didn't even think about. That's, gosh, I can't even imagine. But the person you're buying from in the first place is your customer. And that's such an interesting thing. Like, cause for us, it's like we work with vendors or distributors. It's mostly direct vendors, but it's, and we can kind of, negotiate good margins and make sure, we're getting it at the price that we need and selling it at a competitive price. But for you guys, gosh, that's like such an interesting thing of purchasing it from the customer in the first place, just to resell it to obviously another customer. And I'm sure it's. Do you have a system where you have set purchase prices on certain ingredients and what you're able to offer?
Yeah, it's a whole different. To me, it's the most important part of our business, the buy side. So if we can get the supply in, from the customer, the customer's cost of goods is going to be lower than if you're going to get it from a wholesale vendor. But you also don't want to make mistakes, because wholesale vendor, if something's, an iPhone, the button's not working, Face ID's not working, send it back. Customer, if you mess up on testing an iPhone 14 Pro Max, you paid him $600 for, like, you're pretty much out. So, yeah, we post our buybacks. Like, I'm always like, man, I want to be probably more upfront than we need to be. And you go to our website right now, it's like, this is our sale price and this is our buyback. So our margin is right there for all to see. So nobody else does that. If you go to GameStop, you can see, like, you can click on it. Here's our price. Click on another trade-in value. You kind of go to different part of the website. But yeah, we're probably more transparent than we need to be. Somebody comes in, you're going to call every once in a while, be like, hey, I got this phone. What do you pay for it? And I'm like, $400, whatever. And they come in, there's like a crack down the middle of the screen. Yeah. Like, well, you didn't tell me that part of it. Right? So I told the guys, I was like, man, you don't need to go sit there and explain to them. Like, it's got to make sure it's in great condition. All the things. It's like, people understand. Like, dude, you just got a crack, and I'm not paying you $400 for that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting on the customer service side. So when somebody comes in, you want to make sure they're in and out with cash quick, because the alternative is they can go sell that on Facebook Marketplace pretty quick.
Yeah.
True.
But they don't have to have it's not as dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a deal hunter for sure. And so it's like, I have gotten plenty of things on Facebook Marketplace where I'm just like, all right, well, I'm in some random dude's house right now. So,
you're
like,
a big guy, though.
Fingers crossed.
Not worried about you.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of idea. It's like, it's your guys' whole business model. Again, it's like, I remember I had like an Apple Watch, and I wanted an Ultra, and I was like, started like shopping around, like looking at what an Ultra costs, and I'm like, geez Louise. And then it's like, I ended up finding one on, I don't remember what I paid for it, but it was like, he had it listed for a little bit, and I reached out, and I think I offered him like $100 less than what he'd been trying to sell it for. And I'm like, hey man, I totally get it. Like, I'm not trying to, and I'm like, but I have cash. I can be wherever you want to be in 20 minutes. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, come over. And I'm like,
ooh, I got
okay.
I got my $120 bow with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, you should have reached out. I could have gotten you an Ultra 2, good price. Good deal.
Didn't know. Now you know. Now I know.
Now you know.
Hey, my wife, I'm sure, wants something.
You even mentioned bringing in enough inventory of something like that even is just mind-boggling to me. Of like, is
it only stuff you bring in, or do you do you get new stuff as well from like?
So we'll do.
That is a good question.
It's a combination. So we'll do like accessories. They'll be new. So we'll have
that makes sense.
And then if it's electronics, and we're buying in a bunch of stuff a day. So like, let's say, you don't have an S22 Ultra in stock and you want to go grab one, like, I got to go source that somewhere, but I want to have it in stock. So you don't get to choose what comes in, but also it's like, man, we got a big flood of Ultra 2 watches comes in. The new, I guess it's still an Ultra 2 watch, just came out. It's a black color. So a bunch of people are selling us their old one, and so we can kind of manage supply demand. So it's like, hey, we're paying less and less, so we can drop the price a little bit lower. But if something comes in that we can't, I don't know what's coming in tomorrow. Yeah. So if it doesn't come in, it's like, man, you got to like kind of like place orders, and we do wholesale.
Supplement with wholesale.
Yeah, and usually that's used wholesale. So we'll buy. There's a bunch of companies, but our margin on wholesale is not very good.
Yeah. So if you can get it from the customer, as long as you can keep it cheaper than what you would be getting at wholesale, then and you need that inventory. Right. Do you have any situations where people are trying to sell something, but it's like, hey, we've got enough of that?
We'll typically buy in everything. It's if it's too old or whatever, like we're not buying the Series 5 Apple Watch anymore.
Right.
Like, if it's not updating anymore. But usually probably something. This Apple product usually lasts 5-6 years. The Samsung or the Windows-based products not usually as long, but they'll hold their value for a while. And at some point, you just kind of like you do not buy. You don't buy certain products just usually based off age, or if there's something like. Something just defective a lot. Like something's like, man, there's just products that come out that just don't work.
Is there do you keep like an ongoing list for your staff that this is what we purchase? This is, generally, obviously you talked about the quality testing, and I'm sure all of that factors, but do you keep just like an ongoing list of what you buy and don't buy?
In our inventory system, it'll have a lot of things, but then once again, I tell the people, I tell the guys, I was like, man, just if something comes in, buy it if you think it's good. And once again, this is where it's beneficial to have people who've been there for 10, 12, 13 years.
You got to have some trust in someone doing that. They
just do it so if you have a new guy coming in, it's like, they thought that, they thought that 12 Pro Max was a 15 Pro Max. Or whatever. It's like, oh shoot, should have paid. Should have, but they'll try out new things and they'll make it work. And once again, if it doesn't sell, mark it down to cost. And we do have margins on certain things. I was like, hey, if it's a new product that's not Apple or Samsung, let's make a little bit higher margin because we typically don't sell it for the price we think it's going to sell at. But we tried Pixel phones for 2 years. And like every one of them got returned. I was like, I don't know. People just couldn't figure it out. Or whatever. But, you see all the commercials. I was like, man, we're going to try Pixel phones. And then, we just had to liquidate them. Like every time if we sold 10, we would have 8 returned.
Wow.
Really? And it wasn't because it didn't use. Just like people were like, man, I'd rather do Samsung or Apple.
All right.
Yeah.
That's funny because it kind of reminds me, there's a lot of parallels because my father-in-law, he just recently retired a couple of years ago, but he ran and owned pawn shops for years, like 25 plus years. And so it's always really interesting talking to him because he whenever he started, 30 years ago, before he was even owning them, like when he was just working in them, he talks about how, because, they didn't have like just readily available internet, whenever this was happening. And so, he'd talk about, like him and my mother-in-law would talk about like just walking around like Walmart and Home Depot and just like with a notebook, just writing down what a product was and what it was selling like retail. And it was like, he just becomes this encyclopedia of knowing all this stuff, but it's like it's so hard, and it was really hard for him to have and maintain good people because it's like he had to be there because he had to be the database at all times. He couldn't create a database; he just had to be it.
Go study this for the next 3 weeks and have a test on how much this is worth
because they get anything and everything. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd be in there, and it's like some dude would walk in with a bow, and the next dude would try to walk in with a snowboard, and the next dude would have some concrete saw or something, and you're like, you got to know everything about everything. And I just like, because with that you can't have like the same kind of like, I'm sure you guys have like set testing procedures or whatever, but it's like I remember some dude came in with a concrete saw, and it was like my father-in-law was like, this is the same one that someone brought in last week that's broken. I don't want this shit. And it's like,
but you got to be there all the time.
And you got to know how a concrete saw works well enough to know if it works or not. And like, this is nuts.
He's just a well-rounded guy though. Like, we got to the point where I would love to take in everything, but have you guys ever been to Daisy Exchange, the local business where you drop off clothes?
I know of it. I don't know if I've ever been in there though.
Yeah, those guys, good guys, but they. I don't know how you guys know if this is nice or not. I was like, I got this from Nordstrom. It's really nice.
Gosh, all the brands of different clothing. Yeah,
it's like I think by default, if you haven't heard of it and you don't know for sure, you just go on the lower end. But with us, we're not buying in like. We can look. So for now, we can look like eBay, Amazon. Hey, what's this going for used in good condition? Okay, we can match that price, and we'll pay you a good percentage of that portion.
Right.
So it's a lot easier now than it used to be.
You can have some system set in place. I'm sure it's a little more limited on electronics, or at least popular electronics. Or clothing, I'm sure it gets crazy. And in pawn shop, it's like literally everything.
Literally everything.
I feel like it's like I'm like imagining like a pawn shop is like in a sense, it's almost like kind of like gambling. Like
I'm sure there's elements to it that Yeah, because it's crazy. And now I know, like, because my brother-in-law works at, he still works in the pawn business and stuff. Mm-hmm. And now they've got, like, these big pawn companies that are buying up a lot of the pawn shops. They have their own database where you literally just like type in what it is and it'll pop you up a price, like what you buy it for, and what you sell it for, kind of thing.
That's
and
crazy.
It's like, and then if it doesn't pop up on there, I think they go to eBay, and then they go to like what it's being sold for, actually selling for, like recently sold for prices on eBay, and it's like this whole system. But yeah, it's crazy
because you got some good stories.
Yeah, and it's for sure. But yeah, it's really interesting because you have to know everything from podcast equipment to watches to pool tables to you name it. You got to have some kind of idea on what it's worth and how to make sure it works.
I feel like that makes sense that there's some that are buying up everybody else of like, because that database, like there's so much information. Like it's not feasible for one pawn shop to be able to create that database just for one shop. But if you did it and you could apply that database to multiple other ones, you could purchase them at a reasonable price and be able to implement that and make good money.
Well, it's really interesting too. This is just kind of reminding me of it, not to get on a tangent about pawn shops, but like one of the big things that they're having to do now and like implementing rule wise is they don't buy anything that's new. You can't bring new products to them because I think it's like a theft thing, because it's like people think this was probably stolen. Yeah. But it's like, even like I remember, I forget how we came across it, but it was like given to us or something. But it was like some stuff that like we just don't need. And I remember calling her brother, my brother-in-law, and just being like, "Hey, we've got this like light system thing," and he's like, "Oh, is it new?" And I'm like, yeah, it's still in the box, brand new. And he's like, "Yeah, I can't take it." And I'm like, "So if I take it out of the box and I plug it in, can I sell it to you?" And I'm like, "I don't want to put you in a bind." But that's interesting. Like, that's really like there's
just a general rule of thumb. It's stolen.
Well, there's electronics. You gotta, and this is why a lot of the businesses don't make it on the electronic side, just because it's there is a lot of theft, and especially before the Apple ID, the iCloud. People can, if you steal something, or if you can commit like insurance fraud or whatever, you can get phones and then report them lost or stolen. And so for us, we do have things that we have implemented ourselves. So nobody's coming and checking on us, but like for us, it's not good to buy, if somebody comes out with the iPhone 16 to sell it to us, unless this customer's been a long time customer and we know that their stuff is good. It doesn't help us for us to pay a bunch of money for it, and then a month later get reported stolen, or lost or whatever it is. So we put our own holds, and we just we don't buy this product for a certain amount of time after it was released. Make sure it's a purchase date. So there's a lot of things that's like that you can do to kind of shield yourself from buying that stuff. And you also don't want that customer in your store. Like if it's somebody bringing something, but it's like, man, if that was purchased, if I'm your brother-in-law, it's like, just open it or just whatever.
Yeah, right.
It's not stolen,
just
but
plug it in.
But you got serial numbers and all this stuff. And so there's different databases out there that if somebody gets robbed or whatever, they get stolen from, they can put the serial number in. And if we happen to buy that stuff, then we're liable for it, so we try to take extra precaution not buying stuff like that. I didn't even think about it from that standpoint. You guys, what happens if you guys accidentally do buy something and it gets reported stolen? Like, well, so it's right now it's like you have your iCloud or whatever on everything. Right. So like even your AirPods, whatever, it's like hard for somebody to take something if somebody else's is not a password protected. So that's good. Yeah. But we'll have a police officer come in, once a month and be like, "Hey, you bought this MacBook," and a lot of times it wasn't just a robbery, a random one. It was like it was somebody's daughter or son or uncle, or whatever. They knew them, and it's like they stole it. And it's like, golly, like we're sick because the password's off of it. Like we did everything we could. And it's like you're out of a $1,000 MacBook. It's like shoot. Geez. So then it's like, you might be able to get in court through whatever. It's like we're never seeing that. That's, what is it? Blood from a turnip. You're never getting the money. Right? You're never seeing that again.
Dang. Yeah.
Do you, Russell, in your time, do you feel like, because you talked about your father-in-law, being at a time before the internet and you could look up prices. Have you, in your experience, have you noticed a difference in because people can look up prices, like not just from the database side of things, for people running these shops, but from a customer side of things, do you have to be more competitive on pricing because people can so easily look up prices other places?
I think you do. You could. I play around with pricing all the time, and I try to be like the lowest price and the highest buyback and try to work on those margins. But, there's, if you offer, like what Thomas is saying, you offer great customer service and people know they can trust you, know that your stuff is good, know that if, like, man, I bought a used electronic and like the ear speaker doesn't sound right, I can bring that back. I talk about return policy with the guys at the stores. Like, man, the return policy, I don't even care if it's 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. Like, if somebody bought something from us and you know that it's not working the way it should, just return it for them, exchange it for something else. Like, if the customer knows that when they're buying something, they're going to buy from us. Like, if they go on a Facebook Marketplace, they know that maybe 2 or 3 days from now, it's like, oh man, I didn't check the Face ID when I was buying it. Like, that's a big fix. It's like, man, if we sell something with the Face ID not working, we'll take it back. We'll get you a good one.
Yeah, you might have to pay out that money on that return at that moment, but you'll gain that customer back a dozen more times over the next couple of years. So
yeah, and we have different ways to, like, we can use the parts or we can like sell it.
Makes sense.
Sell it as not with it. We can get some value back out of it.
Yeah,
so it's not a complete loss.
Do you do any fixing of products at all?
We'll repair iPhones, but like, usually Samsung or consoles or soldering. When it starts getting to like the harder repairs, it's like, how it is. If you can train people to do certain things on the store level, that's great. But if you have to train every single person to do some of the more intricate stuff, it's like you're never going to grow. So if you ever want to grow, it's like, man, watch a few videos on iPhones, get a little practice. Yeah. I think anybody can pretty much fix an iPhone.
Do the simple, the most common ones kind of deal. But you try and do everything and you're good at nothing.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. This is life,
Yeah. Man, I had a question and it escaped me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting thing because I've never really thought about it that way. I mean, aside from talking to my father-in-law and him just always buying stuff and obviously selling stuff. It's really funny with him. Like, I love him to death, but he has pawnbroker brain a lot, where it's just like it's everything. Like, well, what is this worth?
I love it though. Yeah. I could talk to him forever. This would be great. I'd be like, man, he probably came up with some cool stuff all the time. It's like, what is that? Oh, it's a microwave toaster in one, or I don't know. Whatever.
You get him around jewelry and like different stuff. And like, I remember we were over there and he had bought some, because he's retired, but he's his own personal pawnbroker. But he he bought some like gold coins from a friend, and he starts pulling, and he's like, well, just explaining it all to us, and he's like, well, this is a African whatever, and if from 74 to 76 they're pure gold, but after 76 they start being like gold plated with this much of a core, and then after 86, and you're just like, what in the world, dude?
I'd talk to him forever. That's it's like the 1952 Mickey Mantle was worth this because of the way they produced it. The baseball cards and stuff. Like, I love that stuff. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. And he's got all these little doodads and stuff for testing things, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting for sure, because he'll just like pull out this thing and like necklaces or whatever, because like, all right, like, it makes sense.
That's crazy.
I love it.
What do you ever get the comment or the probably more like comment that people assuming that retail is dead? And I feel like I can say that because we're also in retail. But do you ever get people saying that?
I mean, I'll have people saying, I'm not at the store, so it's like, people here, most people here don't even know I have a retail shop. I mean, you ask people at the gym, they don't even know. So I was like, that kind of pays for this equipment, pays for our hobby. But, I think when you have a business where you're offering a service that you can't be offered online, then you have that value. Like, you can go buy a supplement anywhere, but if you go buy it from Triad, they'll tell you the what behind it, the why. They'll, if you don't like it, they'll probably take care of you for you. Like, they'll know you next time you come in and say, hey, how's that working out for you? So same thing. I mean, our guys, once again, have been around forever, and like, they know the customer. They know, somebody comes in and is like, oh, man, I tried to switch over my SIM card or like eSIM or whatever. What do I do? And it's like, these guys know way more than I do. So I'm coming in and asking them the questions all the time. Like, I'm asking my own guys, hey, I feel like a grandpa now. Like, I'm like, hey, I can't get my whatever to work on my phone. Can you check it out? Like, I'm that guy. I was like, you know what? I'll embrace it. So I do think some retail is dead. But I think if you offer that service and that personal touch, and you get the right people in place, which you guys do an excellent job of, and
thank you.
Our people are pretty good, and but you still, there's some things that are pretty standard. Like, you gotta be in stock, you gotta be a decent price, You gotta be clean. There's like there's some foundational things that you have to have. And sometimes I walk into places and I'm like, man, we're not even clean. Like, what's this? Like
right.
the basics. So or you're not in stock. Like you got to be in stock. So there's a lot of things to go into. But I think that teaching people how to make that connection, having your guys make that connection is important.
Yeah.
And I think the people who don't do that, those retailers will die off. For
sure.
Yeah,
and I think that's been the biggest thing for us is not just assuming that online's taking over retail. Is how do we compete against that? And you talk about making sure that you're competitive on pricing. We do the exact same thing. As we're just as cheap, if not cheaper, than anywhere you can find any particular product online. Obviously, online can sell at a very cheap price because they don't have a lot of overhead. Yeah. But we're very diverse. We're very dynamic in the products that we carry in our store, and we're very, very smart about making sure that we make enough of a margin to be able to pay our rent, pay our employees, all that sort of thing. And there's some intricacies to that. But yeah, what can we do better at than online? And that's service. So,
and I think that's one of the things too that like I got a lot of thoughts on this, obviously, but it's like I think people don't understand that people crave being someone, like they crave interactions with people. They like to go, they like to touch, they like to feel, they like to compare, they like to talk to somebody who's an expert about it. That happens all the time where somebody will come in and let's say they love First Form and they've been taking First Form, but then they try a specific product of First Form and they're like, well, this just wasn't my favorite. Well, now I don't know what to do for this category of things, right? Like maybe they're like, I really love, Formula One, but like level one was always kind of not it for me. And it's like, hey, yeah, I totally get it. Like, well, here's 9 other options that are like level one, same quality, same price range, same all this kind of stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, great. I would have never found that. I would have never even known because all I know was like, I get First Form. And that's and First Form obviously makes great stuff. But it's like that having like, hey, here's your category of things that you can look in and here's a whole bunch of options. Like, oh, you want to try one? Yeah, sure. Like let me mix it up for you. Let me let you try it. Let me make sure that it's something that you actually like all those kind of things. And I do think that people also get into this mindset where and I think every business or people just as humans kind of go into this too, where it's like, I think everybody wants an excuse for why something's not working, right? Like if you go into this idea that like retail is dead, well, then it's like, then you get to stop trying and like your effort doesn't matter as much. You know what I mean? And I think we had because our stores do well, we're very blessed. And it's like one of the things that has been like a super motivating factor for us is like hearing that, a similar style like retail location was doing like close to double in sales. And we're like, oh, and I could understand that being like, oh man, we're only, but it's like, no, that's super motivating. Works, like there's so much more meat on the bone here. Like we can't start getting complacent because like we could double what we're doing right now. Like we could be way bigger than we are. Like if we just keep pushing, but if you start getting into this, like, I think we're maxed out. I think this is, maybe people are just shopping online now. Maybe people are, it's like, you start getting into this, like you can give yourself excuses. You stop working hard. And then it's like, or we can be like there's proof in the like you could do double this. Oh, cool. Well, then let's push. We're not even half tapped of what we could be doing.
We gotta have Kevin keep trying out all the products. Somebody's gotta do
That's
it.
right.
So it's like, I mean, if other retailers go out, which you never hope for, but like, maybe that's more customers for you. But I mean, what you're saying is like, I've walked into plenty of stores. I'm like, I feel like we do a good job at this, but I'm looking at you guys, you're doing a better job at this. Right. Like, how do we get better? But I mean, retail's doing just fine.
Yeah, right.
And they're charging plenty for retail space. So
right.
That's
true. Right.
So the rents are fine. So people are paying them. I'm like, I don't know how these guys make money, but it's like we sell phones at least.
Yeah.
That's another thing I remember hearing like early on too, when someone talking about, retail, that it was actually, they were on, kind of our side of the argument of retail not being dead, and is they were like, oh yeah, everybody wants instant gratification. And it was just funny to hear that because everybody assumes, the internet is associated with instant gratification quite a bit, but when you're shipping a physical product, retail is actually more instant gratification than, and it's like, holy crap, yeah, that's right. Yeah, if someone runs out of pre-workout or needs a new protein, or like, I know for myself when I'm purchasing something new, it's like I'm excited to get it. So yeah, I'll maybe purchase something and wait a few days, but it's like if there's a store in town, I can go get it today and hold it. It's like, I'll go drive and go get it.
As soon as I like have given myself like enough excuses and reasons that I need like a new iPhone, I'm like, I will have it today. It will be in my hands today.
Or also,
and I will throw a fit otherwise.
Now, or if your stuff stops working, like we're there,
right?
Like for the phones, it's like, man, you need a phone, right?
Yeah.
If your stuff stops working.
Yeah.
You can come in, get it fixed or get a new one or whatever. Or, sometimes people will buy something. It's like, man, I'm trying to charge it. It's not working. And we plug it up. It works just fine. It's like, hey, your charger. Or maybe there's something in your deal. Like if you buy that off of Amazon and it's not charging, you might not think to charge it and like try different chargers, or maybe the charge ports, got dust in it or something.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways to add some value.
That's funny because one of my favorite customers that we get, and it's like one of my favorite ways of us getting new customers, because I think maybe it is a personal thing that I just personally enjoy it when this happens. But it's like when somebody comes in as a guy or girl and they're like, "Oh, hey, I just need protein. I ordered some, but it's not going to be here for a week." And I'm like, "Yo, come on in. Like let me show you everything we've got now." Right? It's like, because it's the best, because it's just like, oh yeah. Like, you ever get tired of waiting a week for your stuff, come here and I will have it. You can have it in 10 seconds if you want it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Kevin the other day, great guy. I was like, he goes, "What kind of protein do you guys?" Like, I get this one brand. And he goes, "All right, we'll carry it." Yeah. I was like, shoot. He goes, "Yeah, we're going to carry that. We'll order it tomorrow," or whatever it was. I was like, no way. So, yeah. He listens to his customers. Yeah, let's go.
Got to do it, man.
That's we've talked before about us profiting well, but all that money going right back into inventory, so it not showing up in our bank account and being like, where's all the money we are supposedly making?
Yeah.
We got in that mindset in 2018. We started kind of testing the waters, and then just went full head first into with there being so many brands out there and so many different products. I shouldn't say this because maybe this is small mindset, but I don't think it's feasible to carry everything.
Oh yeah.
That there's so much out there that I don't know that it would make sense to do that, but we're going to try and carry everything anybody has ever heard of. Like anybody that's walked into our door and is looking for anything, we want to have it. And
it's literally a rule that like if somebody walks into one of our stores and just mentions the name of something, you're supposed to write it down. Yeah. Like even if they were just like, my third cousin's sister-in-law told me about this, mentioned she was taking this. Okay, cool.
Write down.
We're going to write it down.
Right. Well, I always told Lindsay, I was like, man, the stores are profitable. We're doing good, but we don't have any money. But it's all on iPads, so we're going to sell those at some point. But their money's in iPads. We don't even own an iPad ourselves. So, but it's like you tell Alyssa, it's like, oh, we got a bunch of product. Russell asked for this protein. I got to get a bunch of it. So,
I think there was that realization of when we hit, it was I think it was $500,000 in inventory. Not to get too much into the numbers, but it was like, holy crap, we've got $500,000 in protein. Like, what are we doing?
What's happening right now?
I understand it. I'm there for you.
Yeah, it's like that makes me really nervous to say it that way.
Hey, but nobody's breaking into your place trying to steal your protein, or hopefully not.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I get it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that we need that we do have security. I don't know that it's quite as necessary as somewhere like where you have, but because you've dealt with some break-ins, right?
Yeah. And so we spend more than we would like on security, and going to keep amping it up. If there's a way to take something, people are going to figure it out. So unfortunately, but
just got to stay one step ahead.
Just stay one step ahead. Just make it not enticing for them, and train your guys if somebody's going to try to grab something during the day, kind of have what to look for, that sort of thing. But yeah, you don't want to be broken into at night for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they're really stocking up if that's
those
the
are the expensive ones. Yeah. It doesn't take long to get like a lot of iPhones real quick.
Yeah. What's have there been some like pretty like knowledgeable criminals when it comes to that, the nightly break-ins?
If you're breaking in right now, we've had one break-in the last overnight in probably the last 8 years. So it's been a while. I mean, since I've owned the place. So before I took over, they were experiencing like an attempt every month and some successful.
Jeez.
But yeah, this last one, it was they were good. They knew what they were doing. But yeah, you got to be good. I mean, you don't have to be like Ocean's 11 good, but you got to be. Our goal would be, to make you, we're actually purchasing a second gate. So we got one, they got a second one. So yeah, so we're figuring that out.
Again, staying one step ahead. You didn't nothing recently, but would rather not run the risk.
You know what doesn't have good resale value? Security gate. Used security gates are not good resale. So this one we're not getting your money back for. You don't know much extra stuff. So I tried to sell a used security gate. Doesn't go well. Not a market for that.
Yeah, you guys get pretty frequently like people during the day trying to snatch something.
Used to. We got guys that if you have, what to look for. Somebody wearing a big sweatshirt in the middle of summer. It's like I want to see like 3 iPhone 15 Pro Maxes. Like, we're gonna show you one, maybe take your ID, but grandma shows up, or somebody with like a bunch of kids. They're not running anywhere, so they're gonna be fine.
Not getting anywhere fast.
Once again, 99% of the customer base, awesome. It's that 1% or whatever that's like looking to get something, and it's like, man, you just got to be vigilant on being proactive and not letting that happen.
Yeah,
right.
That's funny. I had an experience almost from the other point of view.
You were stealing stuff. You were stealing iPhones.
I think I had somebody that was assuming that I was. So I was out for a walk in our neighborhood, and I think it was a bike. This is probably a couple of months ago now, but there was like a bike, and it was like somebody said like they'd left it, but they were like, and they'd like walked to their house, but they were coming back, and you could, I don't know, they just kind of had that look as like, and they kind of like, when they saw me getting close to the bike, they like kind of like, they like kind of like got hustling a little bit faster, but they slowed down when I realized I had 2 dogs and a baby strapped to my chest.
You're not going anywhere fast.
Like I don't even have a hand to grab this.
You're just fine. We're not worried about you. Yeah. For sure.
Oh yeah, he's.
Well, yeah. Before I took over the store, it was like, man, we're getting IDs from everybody because somebody did a grab and run. I was like, dude, everybody, is this person gonna walk away? No. Is that person? No. Is there a chance that? No.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys know what to do when you know what to look for. Like if something's a little bit off, or they're asking for multiple things or whatever, like just be careful. You get an ID, be like, hey, I'm just grabbing this. Nobody's gonna question it. Just do it right away. And like you're just teaching people how to deal with people.
Right. Yeah, because I'm sure it could take away from the customer experience of if you're grabbing the ID from literally everybody.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's like awkward. I'm like, like an 85-year-old grandma wants to see an iPhone 6 or whatever at the time. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So when they walk in, size them up. Yeah. Can I catch them if they take this?
Like the little the little height thing on the door, like they have at gas stations. It's like, all right, this guy, I think I can take it.
We can do that guy.
One of those. Yeah. You must be this high to not get ID'd.
It's
tall.
Yeah. It's like
roller coaster.
I got my running shoes on just in case.
Yeah, that's right. That's too funny.
Oh man. What time are we at now? We still got a little time?
Not much. We're getting close to 2 hours.
Yeah. I think we could start at least wrapping up a little bit so we get this guy out of.
Can I take a restroom break?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. And then we'll wrap up. Yeah, we good. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You're good. How's your week starting off?
Pretty good. Not bad at all.
Good.
Did a little car Tetris today. Little suburban Tetris. That's pretty good. That's pretty big. That's a big transfer.
Dude, you can fit a lot of boxes in that bad boy.
You sure can, man. I was laughing after I got it all packed up because I came back in and I was talking to Alyssa and Ryan for a second, which means I was talking and they were both nodding along as I guess if they were paying attention to me. But I was like, yeah, I got it all in there to fit and everything. I was like, I think I'm going to take some pictures and send it to Kevin, and he's going to let me know that I missed out on 7.3 cubic inches of usable space.
Oh, I already found all the areas that.
Well, you could have fit this here.
So just to give you like a point of reference on the Suburban, I can fit 2 full pallets in there.
Nice.
So as your reference.
This was to give you an example of how much I got in there. This was 4 dolly trips.
That's Norman. A lot, dude.
It's 4 dolly trips.
Jeez.
Not bad, huh? I only had to flatten 1 seat, and I only had a case of water up front with me. Everything else was behind me, and even the baby seat one was just like still intact. Didn't have to touch that. $4 worth down in there. It was a pretty good one. Yeah. I thought I'd make you proud today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. That's a good one.
It was good to know like the dimensions of how many of each size box I can fit across, because that becomes really extremely important because we're stacking stuff in there.
Dude, I've taken a couple of trips where it's been, I know I texted you earlier, but it's legitimately boxes stacked on the center console, like up to the ceiling, and I'm driving and I can't even put my elbow over because
super safe.
Yeah, but I leave a gap to where I can see that mirror when I lean forward.
Nice.
Or I can see my right mirror. Can't see the rear view mirror, that's for sure. But yeah, we have
just
stacked,
delivery boy stuff.
Yeah, we have stacked that to not make 2 trips. It's like groceries.
Man, it reminds me, speaking, like starting businesses and kind of doing the grind work.
Yeah.
The opening that Colorado store we were talking about, it was empty, and we had to go find however many racks to fill up 47,000 square feet. So I remember packing up
I can't even imagine on electronics.
Yeah, well, we were just doing the racks for DVDs at the time, and CDs and whatever, and we went to a bunch of different Tower Records that were going out of business, or movie trading companies. I remember like my brother and I filling 24-inch or 24-foot U-Haul trucks in Colorado, like in Denver, it's like snowing, and we're going like these down these hills. You can't see anything. You got like racks coming up on you. You got in the back. And you're just like sitting here, like white knuckling for an hour and a half to get back to Colorado Springs. I was like, man, these are the days. And you're unloading the whole thing yourself. And So I tell people, I was like, man, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I haven't done myself.
Yeah,
so,
amen.
I've plunged a lot of toilets.
Hearing other people talk about those kinds of moments like makes me feel better about like, okay, yeah, we're doing something right. We're on the right track with things. My grandpa actually had a very similar story. He was in manufacturing for years, and was a huge mentor to me. And he, I think I maybe just read something that he wrote at one point about him having this story about he was purchasing equipment, or he flew out to some other state to check out some equipment, and it was the equipment that he needed, and he negotiated this deal, but they had to take it like within the next hour. So it was like him and 2 other guys, they rented a U-Haul, loaded it up, and drove it back home. It was like it canceled their plane tickets.
Those are the memories, though. That's how you build it. Yeah. Well, that's what happened at CrossFit Games. They were selling some ski ergs, and I was like, I was on my way. I was running a little bit late, so one of my guys called me and said, man, they got ski ergs and they're a good price. And I was like, yeah, I'll pay it. Just pay it. I'll buy it. Whatever. I'll pay you back. And I get there like a couple hours later, and I was like, man, where are the ski ergs? He goes, you had to like take them. You had to like get them and like go. We didn't know where to put them. I was like, dude, I would have figured it out. Like, old school. Like, use a screwdriver and make it work. Come on,
right.
One of those Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace deals where it's like, you can have it for this price, but you have to move it.
Yeah.
You got to take it now.
Exactly.
That's too funny. Yeah.
Well, Russell, we know you got a soccer game to coach.
This is awesome, though, man.
Yeah. No, I can hang out with you guys forever. We can talk inventory or business or I wanted to encourage you guys. I know, Kevin, you got little Riley. She's 11 months old, and you're sleep training. So we got 4 kids of our own, and the youngest is 5 now. But man, those are the good times. So enjoy them. These are the memories that you're gonna remember. And then Thomas being married, I think we're 18 years in now. So we got married when we were 10 years old. So. But no, I gave you a little book, just basically encourage you guys, just like some applicable stuff, some spiritual stuff, some whatever. So if you guys, dig in, like as you get older and you get like, you're married and you have kids, like you become not the center of your own universe, right? We were talking about it earlier, like the more you give, the more you get. And like if it's about yourself when you're single, and now it's like, man, I'm just giving, you're giving to the company, you're giving to the family. So I encourage you guys to keep doing what you're doing. It sounds like you guys you're off to a good start, and off to a good start. So
we're learning as we go, man. Well, I genuinely really appreciate the books that you brought by, man. I'm really excited to go through those and start reading them, because man, I know we talked about getting to see each other at Coffee Jerks, and it being a place that we've both spent some time working in the past, and I know we always kind of get in these conversations where we get talking about inventory and balance sheets and all that, and it's I always really, really enjoy those, man. So it's nice to do that without the pressure of feeling like I got some other work to do, and because even those small conversations at Coffee Jerks, man, you're always such a wealth of knowledge and so well experienced, especially within retail, man, that I've taken a lot of what you've talked about and implemented into our business. So I've learned a lot from you, man, and definitely you run businesses that I strive to run our businesses a very similar way. So
thank you.
It's super cool getting to sit here and talk to you, man. You know, like kind of like what Kevin's saying and everything that we talked about today. It's been so nice to have this podcast in general for a lot of this, but man, it's just talking to people like yourself who just run business right. You just do it the right way. You know what I mean? And it's, I think in today's day and age, unfortunately, we see less and less of that. And so like us just being so blessed to be able to surround ourselves with people who are trying to do it the right way is super awesome, man. And I feel like I got a lot of really good stuff from just getting here, talking to you. And man, it's super cool. You know, it's cool to see the success that obviously like the retail side has had, but also with the gym and everything. And man, you can tell that your passion's there and your ability to connect with these people, especially at the gym, and create those relationships. It's why that exists, man. And so it's been super awesome getting to talk to you, man.
Thank you.
And it's cool to see how much the gym has grown over the years too. I know you moved into that location or expanded into a bigger location where you got the garage doors on both sides. It looks so cool, man. So, and it's, dude, seeing more and more people going to LandRush all the time. So if you're listening and you are in Oklahoma City, especially in the Deer Creek area, definitely go check out LandRush because it's such a cool culture. Everyone there is so awesome. So,
and you know, if you're in Dallas, look behind the giant 7-Eleven.
Look for the big 7-Eleven.
Remind me the name of the retail.
That's Recharge Electronics.
Recharge Electronics.
So if you're in Dallas, just driving by, no, but it's been great to see you guys. Hopefully see you around more, Thomas. And then, Kevin got all big time and married, so he's not at Coffee Jerks anymore.
That's it.
So
we do most of my one of my many offices. You know, I've got my home office, I've got my desk here. I get a lot of work done in the playpen over there.
That playpen looks great. I need to get one of those in I don't really have an office, but if I had an office, I'd get a playpen. That looks fun.
We've got a box. I put my laptop up on there. Riley climbs up on it and types on the keyboard.
Dude, those are the best. So I mean, just the blessings you talk about of having the ability to do that. Not most people. Most people don't have the ability to, like, hey, take their daughter to work or have their wife there, like whatever. Right. So the freedom that we've been given to do that, and we've you work hard and you're like, man, this is great. Like, even though days are hard, like, man, I got my daughter here, my wife here, my best bud here. Like, this is fun. So that's why I always want to enjoy the gym. I mean, it's like we got some good people. Always hire good people that you want to hang out with and be around.
Never get those Sunday scaries. Then you just it doesn't matter. You just I don't mind getting up in the morning and going to work.
I love it. Every day is fun. Like we wake up, you're like, man, I'm excited about today. Get to do what I want to do. So you guys are doing a great job. So keep it up, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Well,
what episode? 50?
I think this is 54.
54.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
54. Yeah. All right.
Make a jersey or something.
Yeah.
Was it Urlacher or who's 54?
That would be cool to get some custom like jersey shirt or something for all the guests.
Hey, put it on the company card.
How about we start with 54 and make it a tradition? I don't want you starting with 55.
It's settled. We have to do. It's decided now. Is we have to start with 54.
There we go. I like it. I'm in. I'll even do St. Louis Blues for you.
Ooh,
we'll do a little blue and yellow style too.
I'm in.
Sweet. Well, episode 54. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, and
thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Heck yeah. All right.